Page 50, Variations on a Theme by Haydn. I like to talk about this just a bit. As we go through the book, we're getting more and more into a little more difficult music, and the hands are starting to move around, and you're not in a nice, neat five-finger position anymore. Who knows? Well, I'm going to start suggesting other fingerings to kind of prepare you for things coming up later, and things for you to think about. They're only suggestions. At the beginning of this, hopefully I don't need to talk about rhythm anymore. You know what 4/4 means, and you know how to count in 4/4 time, and you know dotted rhythms. If you don't know dotted rhythms, please go back and further, and wherever I talk about dotted rhythms, I don't know where it is, but cover it because it's important that you understand it. Here at the beginning, in the right hand, third finger on E, so we're going to start out in this position. Won't stay there, but we'll start there. That was a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and the articulation really counts. So it counts in any piece, but in this piece it is very, 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 very important. It's always important, but yeah. Now watch the staccatos. You have slur, and the last note on the slur is a staccato. 1 and 2. Just a finger staccato. Second line, again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now, second line, second measure, look at this. Forget the rhythm for a minute, let's just get the notes first. Start an E, and then a D, and move the thumb down to the B, and then move the rest of the hand down. Like so. We just changed hand positions. Is that cool? In the third measure of that line, you're starting out with fourth finger, but the last beat, the last note there is with third finger. We just changed hand positions again. And put us back where we were. Third line, second measure is just the half notes. But then in the third measure, you gotta scrunch your hand up a little and put the third finger on that D. Like so. So we are moving around a little. Let's go to page 51. Now these first three measures here, just follow along. We have this. We call that a sequence. When you have a group of notes that is the same pattern and it goes up or down, we call it a sequence. And a lot of times in piano playing we will try and finger a sequence with the same ear. Each time, each happening of that sequence with the same fingering. Well, what they're doing is they've got your hand in this position and they're just letting you finger it that way. That's fine. It's good practice, but I want to introduce you to the idea of fingering a sequence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finger the first measure of 51 with 2, 3, and 3. So 2, 3, 2, 3. Next measure, same fingering, 2, 3, 2, 3. Next measure, it's 2, 3, 2, because then I want a thumb on that one. And the last measure, it's a 2 on the half note, the C. So the hand's moving around a little bit, so to do that line, the first line on 51 is this. Then you wonder, well, how do I get my hand there? Because in the previous measure, that is the last measure on page 50, I'm here. And you want me to go to here? Well, yeah. They don't have phrasing in here, but it's okay. Just lift up and move up. You got time. That's all right. Don't take a lot of time, but you can go. And let's experiment with that. Now, the last measure on the first line there is 2-1. And the next measure, they want third finger on there. Just reach up and put third finger on the E. In the third measure, you have that 2-1 again. And then third finger on the D, so just bring your hand down a little and third finger. Now starting with the third line on the C, you're holding that thing down for 4 measures. It's all tied. So you're going to hold it down forever until the second measure of the last line, and then you'll lift it up on beat 1 because you have a 2 beat rest, and then 1/5 for those. And that's the right hand, piece of cake, right? Left hand. At the beginning, there on page 50, they say 5/1. But if you look at measure 2, the notes changed. You got a C and an A. Now when music does this, and you'll see it, I recommend you finger the first one 5/2. So you're saving the thumb for the A. Thumb doesn't have to do everything. I mean, good practice, but it's still, I think it's better to do a 5/2. So you can use a 5/1 on the A, 5/2, and then in the last measure, they're saying 1, then cross over to get a 2. 1, 2. I have another way. Rather than what you're in the measure before you're here, then I recommend instead of a 1 on that last measure, the first line, you do a 3. Just lift up and move up. And now you're in position to do a 2-1, 2. And I like that better. That happens again later, and I'd use the same fingering. On the third line down, second measure, same fingering. 3, 2, 1. Now, on page 50 in the last line, follow along just for a moment. We have this. Remember what I said about sequences? Here's another one. This one is going up the piano. So they're saying this way because you're in this position. So they're saying that's okay, but I would still like to introduce you to the concept of this fingering style for sequences. So I'm going to suggest on the first measure there, measure 11, that 11 with the box around it, that's a measure number. It's instead of 4, it's 2. You're in the previous measure, you're here. That's where your hand is right now. Then you have a quarter rest, and you just go up 1 and put your second finger on that G for the last line and do that. The 2, 1, 3. And do that with each of the measures. 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3. Like that. And it's the same fingering. It's not the only fingering we can use, but I just want to introduce you to the idea of using the same fingering for each iteration or each happening of that sequence. Page 51, second line. Again, we're back to 5/2. Same as it was at the beginning. Third line down, 5/3 to start. You put your hand in that position, you drop the hand, and connect to the F. Can you do that? Rolling the weight over, just rolling the weight. Now I would recommend, they've got slurs on each of these measures. I would recommend those last 2 measures of the third line there in the left hand, you make that all one slur, one solid. Connect the whole thing together so it's. And then you can lift up, because typically between these slurs you lift up and have a little break in the sound. A break doesn't work there, so we want it all connected. And the last line. Now, articulation, as I said, slurs and staccatos, and be careful with them. They're important. They're always important. Dynamics, they don't give you a lot with dynamics. At the beginning of this, it's soft, and that's the melody, which is in the right hand. So you have to decide how soft that is. You figure that out, and then you add the left hand, just make it softer than that. And then then the second line, second measure, you have that little arrow to get louder. You're going from the soft to loud. So yeah, so second measure. And this is all loud here. The melody's loud. Keep the left hand, yeah. Then when you go down to the next line, the bottom line, it's soft again. Then there's a crescendo up to an MF at the end of the line, so we're only going to get louder to that point. And then at the top of 51, it's very soft. So careful on this one. What is very soft? And then in the third line, all of a sudden, you're loud. In the last line, second measure, you're loud there. And the next measure, you want to go all the way down to soft. So it's like loud to what? Medium loud to medium soft and to soft. Each one is a little bit softer. Isn't that fun? Oh boy. Pedal wise, you do the whole thing without pedal without any problem. But they're adding it in. You want a little practice doing the pedal, fine, we'll cover the pedal. It's legato pedal there at the top of page 50. We've had that before, it's typical. So in the second measure, I'm going to push the pedal down right after I play the notes. Then I'm going to change the pedal right after I play the next notes. I'm going to lift the pedal right after I play the notes in the next measure. And that's it for the pedal for that part. Third line down is the same thing. That's it for that page. Over on page 51, second line, same thing. And at the bottom of the page, I'm going to push the pedal down right after I play the E in the left hand. I'm going to leave it down for the rest of the piece. And at the end, the pedal and the hands come up at the same time. And that's the pedal. Isn't that exciting? Oh boy. This says andantino. Andantino, there's a difference of opinion on what that means. You'll hear you find recordings of this. Look up the Brahms variations on a theme by Haydn and just listen to it. It depends on the mood you're in. It depends on the mood I'm in, how fast it goes. 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll have to decide how fast you want to take it. With the play with me, we're going to take it super slow. One little thing I forgot to point out is on page 50 in the second line, second measure, right hand, you see the 3/8 notes at the end of the measure are slurred. It's important to have a break in the sound right before that first eighth note. You have a half note tied to an eighth note, and then lift up and have a break before you go on. It's a pickup to and connect that to this. Don't put a break in there. No, it's all connected. You go up to here, go over to here. So yeah, but put a break in the sound before that B. I'm going to give us 4 counts. Let's try this slowly together just to check notes and rhythms. Now again, I'm not doing dynamics. So the right hand is here to start. I'm going to do 5-2 and the foot's on the pedal ready to go. 1, 2 and ready and go, and 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2. 2 and 3. 2, 3, 4. Repeat. Rest. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2. 4. 4.